Hello, my name's David Finch. I work for the Imperial War Museum's Visual Resources Department. I'm a digital preservation manager. I've been with the museum coming up to 22 years. And the majority of that time has been in the museum's film archive. The project I'm working on at the moment is called Digital Futures. It's a 5-year program of work. It's part of a much bigger program, but for the next 5 years, we're going to be looking at digitising 2.1 million items. This is film, stills, audio, and videotape. Videotape and audio are being digitised externally by contractors that we have engaged. The majority of the stills photographic collection is also being digitised externally by contractors. We are doing a small amount of internal work on photographs as my team is doing some work. All the film will be scanned internally by the IWM. So what we're looking to do is give a wider access to our collection, which I will talk about further on through this talk. We have a duty of care to, one, look after what we're given by a donor, whether that be a British government, UK government, or civilians. We don't take everything in, but we take things that fit our remit, and that remit is conflict, and it is social aspects of times of conflict. As you can see from this slide, there's a film on the left that's very badly, it's not been looked after, unfortunately, been kept in very poor conditions. It looks like it's had some water damage, and we have mold that's growing on it. On the right-hand side, you'll see there's two still negatives, both suffering from, looks like, either water damage and mold and delamination, where the emulsion separates from the base layer on the bottom slide. Hopefully my face isn't in the way. So we have a duty of care to look after what is donated to us, and if we don't do it, it will carry on degrading and we will lose it. So the museum holds 33 million objects in the collection. The digitisation of all of those items will take 110 years. So that's items that can be as big as a B-52 bomber to a badge or a medal, so very small items. We are trying to create digital assets, or taking pictures of all of the large objects, three-dimensional objects. But what I'm going to focus on is what I know best, which is the sort of film. So we hold 11 million photographs in our collection. We hold 770,000 reels of film. That's 38 million feet of film, and 20,000 videotapes, which I mentioned previously. Our archive is possibly, I think, one of the oldest in the UK. It dates back to 1919 when it came into existence. It came about from, I think, the government of the time wanting to preserve the memory of what had just happened in the Great War, and so the museum was set up, and so the archive was then set up, and they started sort of collecting what had been filmed in the First World War, whether it be film, stills. Also, they started collecting ephemera, so hats, uniforms, badges, guns, tanks, examples of munitions, and these all went on display at the main museum in London and Lambeth. As you can see there, it starts with the Boer War, so it's a time of high empire, when these wars are happening. Conflicts are happening in the colonies. We have footage of the retreat from Spion-Kop up to most recent operations in Afghanistan. So the first film, the first footage of Spion-Kop is on 35mm film, and the stuff that's come from Afghanistan has come to us from the Ministry of Defence on hard drives. So we have a duty of care to catalogue and preserve all this information. The scope of Digital Futures is that we've identified some high-risk collections. One of those is our Cold War collection. The reason they're high risk is because of the chemical composition of definitely the stills and definitely the photographs. We've had, unfortunately, quite a bit of experience of seeing faded photographs and films. So what we're doing is having those assets digitized, and with an element of we're correcting that fading. So we're able to do that with our film scanners and our still scanners. As you can see, there's some more figures down at the bottom there. So we're looking to sort of digitize 10,000 reels of film and 2 million photographs, which is it's quite a large amount of work. Once we have digitized those assets, we're going to store them. So on the left-hand side, you'll see our new paper store, which has been built at the Duxford site. And on the right-hand side is one of our military or motor transport sheds. The interior of that has been converted into a deep freezer, which is -23. In that, we'll be able to store our film and our stills at very low temperatures, and through storing those low temperatures, we'll be able to extend their lifespan, which is quite good. Definitely for them. As this work takes place, we have to think about IT infrastructure. Digital Futures as a project has had this built in where our ICT department will be purchasing and expanding their existing storage. At present, I believe we hold 9 petabytes as an organization. When the project is finished, the Digital Futures project is finished, we'll be looking at, I think, film alone will be 16 terabytes, which is quite has there are implications in terms of how we store and how big the store will be, digital storage. We're able to scan our films by we have 2 4K film scanners, both made by a company called MWA, which is based in Berlin. The proceeds of our second scanner, this one you'll see here, was from They Shall Not Grow Old, which was Peter Jackson. Some of you may have seen it. He was able to take our footage and he colorized it, which it caused a certain amount of conversation, definitely with film professionals. But through colorizing it, he got a lot of interest, and I think in colorizing it, it makes it acceptable to a wider audience, because not everybody wants to sit and watch black and white film, and it is very good. But the proceeds he donated to us, and we were able to buy new equipment, which is part of the investment in this project. So 170,000 reels of film. It equates to, combined, these two figures of 23 million feet of 35, 15 million feet of 16. We're looking at sort of 38 million feet. We do hold some other smaller gauges, but if you were to lay that 38 million feet out, we would reach Buenos Aires in a straight line. We have, as mentioned before, a considerable collection of videotapes. Now, videotape, they are also what we call a high-risk category because of the technology. A videotape player is mechanical. The knowledge of how to look after these tape players it's almost lost information. The people who were around in the 1980s, 1970s, and 1990s who maintained these machines are no longer around. But thankfully, our contractor that's doing the work, this is an organization called Memnon, which are based in Belgium. They have that knowledge, and I think they're possibly the largest collector of videotape players in the world. So yeah, you'll see there's an example, pencil for scale. So there's a 35mm film section and a 16mm film. So what we do, we have a very extensive store at the IWM of film. These films are retrieved from store by our project delivery team. They are then wound through on a bench. We look for damage. So films are joined together usually with a film cement or a tape. So we test those joins to make sure that they're of a sufficient quality, that we can put them through our film scanners to be digitized. So this is one of my technicians who is doing some work. So with film stocks, they also come with a certain amount of date code information on the film. So that this gives us, it's quite important in our catalog. So we use a system called AdLib, which Axial AdLib. This is the way we store the data that we find on the films. So that's quite important for preserving it for future generations, but also future members of staff want to come and look at the film. They'll know that that film, say this one comes from 1954 and it was made by Kodak. So it's kind of important information. We also have taken a program of taking on trainees with the Imperial Museum in our film department. With the trainees, we teach them on how to handle films that are degrading. So you'll see with this one, in the middle, we have a HEPA filter fume extraction system. So we're able to work on the film while looking after staff, and then we can wind the film onto the viewing table machine, and we can scan it. So we're minimizing risk to people, because when these films go off, they get something called vinegar syndrome. So this is acetic acid, which is not really very, it's not very pleasant. Once these films have been digitized, we can then vacuum pack them. So we can put them in mylar foil bags. We can then remove the air from them, and we put them into a negative environment. They then can go into the freezer stores, which you've seen in the previous slides. So we have a program of work at the moment to train. I've got 2 trainees and they're with me for 16 months. So we'll teach them film technology, how to handle it, how to look after it, and how to digitize it. So we're trying to invest and give people the skills, because it is a little bit difficult. I mean, there are not many places you can still go and learn about film. Film. And you'll see there, the film is, the film is winding through. And you can see how it's warped. So this is another symptom of degradation, where the film starts to lose its stiffness and it starts to become all wobbly. But thankfully, with these machines, they're set up as what we call like an archiving standard scanner. So there's very minimal contact. You'll see there's contact from the rollers on the film, but it's not touching the image. So we're not going to damage the image any further. I'll just run it through again. You can see how wobbly that is. So there's another picture of me looking a little bit younger and less grey. We've digitized over 4 million feet in-house. I think I'd worked it out that if I laid it from our Duxford site, it would reach, I think, Dundee in Scotland if I laid it in a straight line. This work was done on this film scanner here, which was our first 2K film scanner. So we have a team within our department and who go out and they look for funding. So Peter Jackson being one, AHRC another. There was an organisation called the Anchor Peterson Trust, but it's also like other organisations. So we look to kind of support our work with grants. Unfortunately, the museum funding for the museum from the government, it seems to be getting tighter and tighter. At present, I'm aware that we are 80% self-funded. and that's through activities and events that the museum has taking place. So we have air shows at Duxford. We run corporate events in different sites across, IWM North, Lambeth in London, Churchill Cabinet War Rooms, the Duxford site as well. So, and that helps us fund these projects. The 20% comes from the DCMS, so that's Department of Culture, Media and Sport, and it does seem to be that they are putting the squeeze on these things, which is a little bit unfortunate. Definitely, if you want to preserve your nation's history. Let me carry on. So, if you are interested, please check out our IWM Collections site. I've managed to paste that in the middle, excuse me. But yeah, it's at the bottom there. So it's, as you'll see, https www.iwm.org.uk/collections. That will give you a very broad overview of our organisation, but also you'll be able to start looking at some of the collections that we have digitised. We also have a film site. This is you can sign up to this and you can download films if you're interested. So as a learning resource, it's a very good site. You see at the bottom left, film.iwmcollections.org.uk, and a lot of the work that we're doing at present is being posted to the site, so people can see it. What I'll do now is I'll play a short film for you. Actually, I'll play two short films. Hopefully you can hear the sound. So this is one that we've highlighted from a collection. This is part of the British military. They're always looking to get new recruits, and they used to do these quite interesting films in the 1960s and 70s. And as you can see, they would try and entice people, like taking the King's shilling by saying, "Oh, you can be posted to somewhere fairly glamorous, Hong Kong, Cyprus, Malta, Gibraltar, where there's sun, sand, and surf." I have a suspicion that a lot of people end up getting posted to the Falklands, which, South Atlantic, probably quite a grim posting. So that's one example of something that we did. And we also, the Central Office of Information was an organization that was, I think it was wound up in the 1990s and it became part of the Home Office. So they used to create these promotional films for people in cinemas. So whether it be, it's kind of like we used to get these general health things from the 1980s. There was something called Charlie Says, where don't talk to strangers. I remember a film that was on the television in the 1980s, and it was if you've got a wooden floor in a hallway, you don't polish it and put a rug on it, or you don't walk into a room if you smell gas and turn the light on. They used to do these kind of these films, but they also used to do stuff for the Ministry of Defence or the War Department, as it was at certain times, to encourage young men and women to join the armed services. I'd be interested to know what the uptake was on that. So we also have a YouTube channel. Might be worth your time to look at, and that we're regularly posting. Our curatorial team are posting films and little snippets of information about what we hold in our collections, and it's worth your time. And this is something that we had made to promote our work. So I hope that was of interest to you. Please do check out our website, our YouTube channel. I think we're on Twitter. And if if you want to get in touch with me, I'm on LinkedIn. So please, if you have any more questions, please feel free to get in touch. And I thank you very much for your time.